Obi-Wan Kenobi remains remembered as one of the greatest Jedi who ever lived. He fought alongside Anakin Skywalker through the Clone Wars, trained Luke Skywalker in the desert, and dedicated his life to protecting peace. But across 6 films, a pattern sits in plain sight that most fans never stop to examine closely. Anakin Skywalker began as a hopeful boy destined to bring balance to the Force. He ultimately became Darth Vader, bearing responsibility for countless deaths and the total collapse of the Jedi Order. Obi-Wan didn't just watch that happen from the sidelines. His choices, his silences, and his loyalty to a flawed system helped cause it. A huge thank you to everyone who dropped comments on our last video. This video exists because of you, since we picked this topic straight from your suggestions. If you have an idea for a future video, write it in the comments right now, and the most liked ideas get turned into real videos. Your comments shape what we make next. And if you enjoy this kind of detailed breakdown, please leave a like and hit subscribe, because it genuinely helps this channel keep going and means everything to the people behind it. Anakin Skywalker's story opens in The Phantom Menace, when the Jedi Order pulls a young child away from his mother. Qui-Gon Jinn stepped forward as the mentor eager to train him, serving as a warm and unconventional guide who connected with Anakin on a personal level. Qui-Gon saw a child who needed belonging, standing ready to provide both guidance and care. Tragically, Darth Maul killed Qui-Gon during a duel on Naboo at the film's climax, leaving a dying request for Obi-Wan to train the boy. Obi-Wan honored that promise faithfully. The problem arose because he approached the duty like a strict older brother rather than a patient mentor. He corrected Anakin constantly, pointing out failures far more often than he acknowledged growth. As the two moved through the events of Attack of the Clones, the emotional distance between teacher and student kept growing wider with every mission and every argument. By the time Attack of the Clones begins, Anakin already struggles in ways anyone paying close attention could spot. The young Padawan speaks openly about nightmares, missing his mother, and harboring immense fear. Obi-Wan's response almost always defaults to some version of correction or dismissal. Upon traveling to Tatooine, Anakin discovers Tusken Raiders captured his mother, who dies in his arms. The resulting grief drives him to slaughter the entire camp. Confessing the massacre to Padme leaves him shattered. That is when Obi-Wan's detachment becomes glaring, as he never learns about the massacre because no one informs him, and he never thinks to ask. That silence carried real weight. Anakin harbored that isolated trauma for years. Without a supportive guide, he possessed nobody to help him process his escalating darkness. Also, Obi-Wan strongly suspected that Anakin and Senator Padme Amidala shared a forbidden romance that directly violated the Jedi Code. Instead of addressing the relationship openly, the older Jedi simply ignored it. This avoidance forced Anakin to manage a stressful double life from that moment onward. Anakin and Padme married in secret shortly after the events of Attack of the Clones, and that secret became a heavy burden Anakin carried every day of the Clone Wars. The Jedi Order strictly forbade attachment, which meant Anakin harbored a wife he couldn't acknowledge and a love he needed to bury. By the time Revenge of the Sith arrives, an impending child terrified him. He started experiencing visions of Padme dying during childbirth, sparking panic about losing another loved one. Seeking Yoda for help, he received the advice to release his fears and accept the will of the Force. Approaching Obi-Wan only yielded more lessons about patience and discipline. Nobody sat with Anakin to ask what he needed to hear. The Jedi philosophy of emotional detachment proved logical as a general teaching. However, applying it to a traumatized young man deprived of space to process grief only pushed him closer to breaking with every passing month. While Obi-Wan kept his distance, Chancellor Palpatine acted in the exact opposite manner, spending years constructing a personal relationship with Anakin, piece by careful piece. Palpatine, secretly operating as the Sith Lord Darth Sidious, assured Anakin he possessed special gifts the rest of the Order refused to admit. He openly praised his power, speaking to Anakin as a true equal and treating him as someone whose abilities threatened the Jedi Council. For a young man lacking that kind of recognition from his own master, those conversations became something close to oxygen. Obi-Wan handed Palpatine that opening by failing to fill the mentor role across more than a decade of training. When the Jedi Council finally decided they needed eyes on Palpatine, they assigned Anakin to take on the job. Obi-Wan delivered that request personally, asking his student to spy on the one person in the Republic who consistently treated Anakin with warmth and respect. That request fractured whatever remained of Anakin's trust in the Jedi Order. In the final act of Revenge of the Sith, every thread pulls apart at once. Anakin discovers Palpatine's true identity as a Sith Lord, yet his first instinct avoids seeking Obi-Wan. He runs to Mace Windu instead, largely because trust in his own master eroded too far to rebuild in a brief moment. When Padme later informs Obi-Wan about Anakin's betrayal, Obi-Wan travels to Mustafar and hides aboard her ship. That choice reads to Anakin as a betrayal by the woman he loved most. A huge thanks to everyone who left comments. This video wouldn't exist without you, as we chose this topic from the comments. Please write any ideas for our future What If videos below, and the most liked comments will be selected. And of course, like and subscribe. The ensuing rage drives him deeper into the dark side before either man exchanges a word. Obi-Wan could have approached that confrontation differently. He could have arrived alone, spoken first, and reached for his student before reaching for his lightsaber. The phrase he yelled after the duel burned itself into movie history. "You were the chosen one." But that line carried disappointment and grief, not the unconditional love that might have pulled someone back. By then, Anakin Skywalker vanished, leaving Darth Vader to take his place permanently. Obi-Wan's failures stemmed from more than personal choices made in isolation. The Jedi Order itself ran on rules that rendered emotional support structurally impossible for everyone inside it. Authorities forbade attachment at every level. Instructors expected students to release grief rather than work through it alongside someone who cared. A child pulled from poverty on Tatooine, removed from his family at a tender age, carried the expectation to transform into a disciplined warrior monk without any space to heal from what that separation cost him. Anakin lacked the chance to be a regular kid, processing real loss alongside supportive people. He moved directly from slave boy to Jedi Padawan with no time between to recover. Obi-Wan operated inside that system without once questioning whether it served someone like Anakin. An observant mentor would have seen the cracks forming much earlier. The signs proved clear during his teenage years, remained visible through the Clone Wars, and became impossible to miss entering the final days of the Republic. Obi-Wan focused on shaping Anakin's power, which meant he missed that Anakin needed someone willing to acknowledge his pain instead. Obi-Wan Kenobi operates as a tragic figure, and nothing here suggests he acted with bad intentions. He maintained absolute faith in the Jedi way and gave his life to upholding it. But believing in a system does not excuse missing the person struggling inside it. Anakin Skywalker needed honesty, patience, and a teacher willing to bend toward a boy carrying an impossible emotional weight. He received rules, distance, and obligation instead. That gap, more than any promise Palpatine delivered, forged the crucible where Darth Vader ultimately emerged. If this breakdown shifted your perspective on the story, subscribe for more detailed dives into the films and worlds that shaped so many of us.